Welcome. We're here to talk about some fall sports and how that all relates to concussions and what we can do and answer any questions. What's one myth about concussions you wish we could bust right now?
One of the biggest ones, I would say, is what to do right after a concussion. Many people still are getting the advice to go somewhere dark, go somewhere quiet, do nothing. It's still being a prevalent piece of advice people are getting, though, from medical professionals, from coaches, from the internet.
And I think some of that is counterintuitive too, right?
Yeah.
Like you think if you have a concussion, the natural tendency is, I need to close myself off.
Yeah.
But that's not what we want to do.
Immediately right after, that might be a little different. You maybe take it easy, you don't need to go do cardio right away.
Right.
But you're talking, the very next day even, you want to start doing some mild stimulation and actually consider doing some stationary bike, non-jarring cardio.
Yeah, absolutely. Why does fall sports season matter so much for this conversation?
There are a lot of sports that connect to concussions that start around this time of year. Football starts and basketball, but it's also the beginning of a school year. It's good to just touch base and make sure coaches and parents and anyone involved in those sports are kind of thinking about concussions before they happen. If you don't think about it before, you won't respond the right way when they happen. And it's not if, it's when. So,
yeah, absolutely. What should someone in the stands actually look for after a player takes a hit?
Yeah, well, confusion generally. It can often be seen on facial expression and your eyes aren't focused maybe. But as a fan, you might not be able to see that close. But body language can communicate confusion. And anything that, they get up and they walk in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Or they stumble.
Or they're turning around and they're looking. You can see some body language things that indicate they're not quite sure what's going on. They could be dizzy. You could see them putting their hand on their head.
Yeah.
That's like oh my goodness, I have a headache, something's wrong, So there's some body language things that... Yeah,
and I would say just anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
That you are like, why are they acting that way? That's just different.
Sure.
Because it can present in different ways.
Sure. And there's some more serious stuff. If they turn and they start vomiting, or if they have a seizure, there's some more serious things that will be easy to recognize.
Yes, some are obvious and others are not.
And others aren't as obvious.
So I think anytime a player takes a significant hit, there should be eyes on them just watching no matter what. Even if they pop up and are ready to go again, because that adrenaline a lot of times can take them forward and they'll pop up ready to go again. And so you need to be aware of that. And if it was a significant hit, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And if you are a fan and you see them talking with coaches or another person comes over, or a doctor or somebody, now you kind of maybe know what's going on down there. It's just a protocol now. We have more precautionary measures that people are taking for concussion, which is a really good thing. It's not perfect yet. It can be improved, but it's improving.
Yes, absolutely. Parent sees something that doesn't look right, but the coach sends the kid back in. What should we do?
Hopefully, before that happens, you have some preventative measures. A coach should be having a little bug in his ear, hopefully from multiple parents, saying, hey, what's your concussion protocol? I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but if something happens, I do want to know. And if you're a parent of anyone in soccer or football, or, there's a lot of sports that are prevalent for concussions. If the coach knows that multiple parents are wanting to know the protocol, they're going to maybe pin it down a little better. And they won't be surprised that you may even say as a parent, if I see something and maybe you or your staff don't, but I can tell my son is, not the way he normally is.
Yeah.
What can I do? What would you like me to do as a parent?
And there is some legislation that's involved here, right? So there are some protocols that should be followed.
Yeah.
It would be a good idea, I think, as a parent or a fan of somebody that you're close to check in with the coach, the athletic trainer, just before the season starts. We're talking about fall sports here, so it'd be a good time to step in and just say, hey, I'm just curious, what can you tell me about your protocol?
Yeah.
Or you guys, do you have somebody on staff that's trained to recognize when there's a concussion? Do you have somebody that knows what to do when there is a concussion that takes place?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then, heaven forbid, going back to the original question, what do you do if they're sending them back in?
Yeah.
Maybe even if you've already had these preventive discussions, what do you do? Second impact syndrome is a real thing. It's been as serious as death to severe disability, can be caused by a coach or a trainer saying, yeah, just go back in even though they had a concussion. The severity of what can happen the second time they hit their head is profoundly more significant, more serious. So it is a real thing, and at that point, maybe you as a parent just say, to heck with social protocols. I'm going down there and telling them, my son's not right, you get him out of the game. So it should happen that the trainer makes that there's a trainer that takes the helmet away, for example, in football, and makes that call. Because the coach is too emotionally connected to what's going on. So it's nice to have the trainer say, sorry, coach, and sorry, fans or parents even, I'm taking the helmet because of what I see.
What's the hardest part for players recognizing a concussion, admitting it, or sitting it out?
You want to play the game. Most athletes do not want to come out. Also, you legitimately aren't thinking straight. So that's the other challenge. Your reasoning is off. Your judgment is off. If you are a player and you sense something's not right, a lot of times it's the person themselves taking themselves out of the game, and that's great.
Sure.
Hopefully it's many people looking at this and taking that player out of the game, and sometimes it's the player themselves, and we hope that they can do that.
And I think it's important to have that awareness too, not even just for yourself, but as a fellow player.
Yeah.
So if you recognize that as a player and know what to look for, you might not see it in yourself when it happens, but you can see other players around you, and if they're acting off or whatever, it would be helpful to know, because you're a lot closer in proximity as well.
Yeah.
So you can ask them questions, hey, what's going on? Are you okay?
Yes.
And recognize, those difficulties.
And additionally, if you, the player, are like, I don't want to come out of the game, what you might consider, if that's your motivation for just going back in, is that if you get another concussion, you're going to be missing many more games, quite potentially. So if your motivation is getting back in and playing at your optimal level, then what you should be thinking is, I got to go out, coach, and everybody. I got to go out because something's wrong. I'm pulling myself out because I don't want to make myself miss more than I would need to. And the research is very clear. The sooner you heal from the prior concussion, the sooner you're going to be able to go back and play again. And it's almost as if you didn't have a concussion in many cases, because if you have no symptoms and your performance is great for a period of time before, then you're a lot less vulnerable to the concussion. If you, on the other hand, go back in and play, you're extremely vulnerable. It could be a very little hit and you get another concussion.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Interesting statistic here
Yeah.
to mention is that 46% of athletes haven't discussed concussions with parents even when forms are signed. So a lot of times the athletes don't want to discuss that. So this is not the time to be the tough guy.
Yeah.
Right? You want to make sure that you're safe.
Yep.
And you're going to be much better off in the long run.
Yeah, and you'll be able to play more, usually.
Yeah.
If you take care of things early. That's the mentality the mindset that needs to change with athletes is, oh man, I think I have a concussion. It's probably something little, but I'm still going to talk about it because I know the more I do the right things now, the more likely I am to play more later.
Yes.
And even the next game. Sometimes
For sure.
You're more likely if you take care of things. So an openness needs to be the new big change with athletes.
Yeah. That's a hard one, but it's important.
Yeah.
What does recovery really feel like from the player's perspective?
Concussions can be pretty quick, from like days to weeks. And in that case, hopefully what it looks like is you doing the right thing, not cocooning, but doing some cardio, maybe twice a day, getting on a stationary bike, an elliptical, or going swimming, something non-jarring, and maybe going for a walk on uneven terrain, maybe like in a park on grass or on a trail, and just talking with somebody.
Yeah.
So you're getting visual stimulation, body movement stimulation, and auditory verbal stimulation. And all those areas are being stimulated just enough to engage them, but not so much that you're being stressed.
So I would say too, with recovery, what you're looking for and what you can expect would be that there's going to be some ups and some downs.
Yeah.
So you may have some down days, and that's to be expected, but don't let it get you down, because a lot of times if you have a down day, you can let that extend to the next day and the next day. Mm-hmm. So if you have a down day, you want to be sure that you try and get back on things. And what we're trying to do too with recovery is find that just right challenge, right? So there's kind of, if you're challenging yourself not quite enough here, we're not going to see any improvements. So we're too low. And if we're challenging ourselves too much, we're also going to be in that range that's not great. So we want to find that just right challenge in the middle where we are seeing that very mild challenge, and we may feel a little bit off, but then we have a quick recovery. But if it lasts, then we're probably overdoing it. Mm-hmm. So just finding that range is important, I think.
Sure.
Being able to do
and
that.
we are talking if things reset like they do for most concussions in that acute stage, which is a few days to up to about 3 weeks, and even up to maybe a month, things kind of can reset. Our clinic is filled with patients that haven't successfully done that, and it's post 1 month.
Yeah.
And that's a different recovery. And for those people, recovery is going to look very different, because your brain's now decided it's the new norm and it's in a habit of working in the wrong way, even though the brain tissue itself is usually very healthy and capable of total and full recovery and working the right way. It's not doing so now, and habits require some more intensive work to break that. So it might mean going to a clinic and getting some concussion work on. Most of what we're just talked about, though, before that is how to avoid coming to us. And we're okay with that. But it's better, it's the right thing to do for us to kind of help people not go into that persistent symptom stage.
Right. And the good news for athletes is they're young. So their brains are very neuroplastic, is what we call it. So the brain's ability to grow, adapt, and change and improve is, just comes very easily.
Yeah.
Or much more easily, I should say. So that's the good news.
Yeah.
Is that that you'll have a great chance of recovery because of your youth.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to parents and supporters and some of those questions. Before the season starts, what's the conversation every parent should have with their athlete?
There should be a very high level of openness when it comes to concussion stuff. And it shouldn't be like, oh no, you had this concussion. It should be like, you know what? If you're playing this sport, there's a pretty good chance sometime you're going to have this happen.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to keep that to yourself. Like, very opposite. You will get better quicker, and if you do the right things. And to know what things to do, we got to know you have it.
Sure.
We got to know you had a concussion. Sure. And so, there's a few things that we've mentioned before that would be really important right after a concussion to do. But if you don't have that openness of communication with the parent, then it doesn't happen as much. So you have that discussion ahead of time.
Sure.
And you make sure that they feel like you're just there to help them heal, and that's also what's going to help them get back to the sport.
Sure. And if I'm a parent too, I'm telling my kid, there's a difference between your brain and the rest of your body healing, right? Mm-hmm. We have to take care of our brain. It's important in our whole body, of course, but we really need to take care of our brain. It's so important for all the reasons we've already talked about. What should parents know about practice versus games?
Practice, it's kind of nice. Practices can be adapted quite a bit. If someone is in the recovery stage and they get to where they can do the non-jarring cardio and they're feeling really good, there might be a stage where they're coming back to practice but not going back to games. Games is full contact. Practices may not, like they can say not full contact but practice. So you can run with the team. You can do a lot of the non-jarring collision stuff with the team.
Sure.
And so that's one advantage of how you can plan your practices around what's going on with that.
Sure. I think it's important too, like if a kid happened to have a collision in practice, like we said, having those discussions beforehand on that, because there may not be as many eyes on a kid in practice, or it might be an assistant coach somewhere that maybe doesn't know as much about concussions.
Yeah. You may not have the trainer.
Right, exactly. So just having that awareness is important.
Yeah.
And there's another statistic that I'm going to bring up here. So 48.2% of concussions happen in practice. Yeah. So obviously we spend a lot more time in practice than we do in games, but still that's a high percentage of the concussions, or roughly half are coming from practice. So
it's good for coaches, in other words, to know what the trainer knows, at least the basics, because if the trainer isn't always there in a practice, they're the one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
what's the one thing you want everyone, fans, players, and parents, to do differently this fall?
Really, I like the idea of being super honest and open with the team and having a good relationship. The better rapport you have with your coaches, and the more that you've just brought it up in casual, conversation, like, hey, what do you do about concussion stuff? The more open you are that way, I think the easier it'll be when something happens.
Yeah. I think just in general being proactive about it. Yeah. As a player, as a parent, whatever it might be, just be aware that concussions can happen.
Yeah.
And just being proactive about it, being aware, planning ahead, having those discussions with each other, with coaches, with trainers, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Very important.
Yeah. Because a lot of the second impact injuries, people going in when they shouldn't be going in, happens because there wasn't that openness. There wasn't that communication, or there wasn't a proactive mindset about concussions. Sure. So the more everyone is aware, the more the right thing will be more likely to happen, and that player is not going to be sent back into the game.
Sure.
Which is the bigger risk. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I think that concludes what we have to discuss today. So thank you for being with us.